Good morning, everyone. Good morning, especially to our old boys. Today I have the honor of speaking to Lauren Jacquin, who is head of the online learning platform at D.H.S. and is introducing an exciting new program called the G Suite for Education. Hi, Lauren. How are you?
I'm good, thanks, Andrew. How are you?
Yeah, all good, thanks, man, and thanks for taking the time out for having a chat to us today. Lauren, before we get on to the more exciting part is about the program, can you just tell us a little bit about yourself and your background, and more importantly, you know, how you ended up at D.H.S.
Sure thing. Andrew, I've had a passion for people and children for years, and I've been in the educational world for 15 years, 13 of which I spent in the classroom. So being in the classroom, I completely understand the struggles that teachers face. And what was quite alarming is that year after year after year after year, the challenges just became that much more difficult. And after 13 years, I decided to remove myself from the classroom walls, and I just wanted to do something different, reignite a different passion that I had within myself. And so I moved into a digital platform where I did a bit of digital marketing. And then I focused for a good year on digital aspects of education. So this was all prior to the pandemic hitting us. So I went into partnership with a small business called Inclusion Matters, where we did extra tutoring, we did remedial lessons, we did online lessons, we did a variety of educational services. And as this pandemic hit us, it was quite interesting to research how every school in KZN regardless of their status, how they coped teaching. Because so I started putting my mind at work, and I upskilled myself in terms of my online learning skills. And I started approaching schools, because one thing that was made so clear to me, and this isn't just a D.H.S. problem, it was a worldwide, it was a countrywide problem, was people were using different platforms, whether it be WhatsApp, Zoom, Google Classroom. There was no standard form of education taking place. And that caused massive frustration for teachers, parents, and pupils. And I immediately saw a need for schools to adapt to the pandemic, because we all know that we have no idea how long it's here to stay. And the reality, I always say, is that online learning is something that needs to be incorporated into classrooms, not to replace the teacher, but we're living in a century where we're surrounded by technology. And if there's one thing the pandemic taught us, is that everything can take place online. So my approach to Mr. Pinheiro at D.H.S. was, I didn't want to skill your teachers for an online training platform for when the pandemic hits or doesn't hit, or we're at school, we're not at school. I wanted it to be a program that can be used in the classroom on a full-time basis to enhance the education, because the teacher is the superhero. You can't take away the teacher. But if we adapt to the changing environments, you are enhancing the child's education. And if we're honest with ourselves, most of the teenage boys, girls, even youngsters know more about technology than we do. So they even teach us a thing or two.
I told me whenever I have a problem, I go to my daughter. So yeah.
And so, yeah, I met with Mr. Pinheiro and Mr. Golan, and I shared my vision. And ironically, Mr. Pinheiro has always had a vision to have an online presence, because they started, as I'm sure all of you know, they started implementing the use of the iPad in the classroom. And we're currently in a situation where grade 8s and 9s have iPads, and it's being phased in all the way through to matric over the next 3 years. There was here a day that the iPad isn't being used to its full advantage. It's great for ebooks, it's great for research, but there's so much more that can be done on an iPad. And the excitement that that creates for both teachers as well as pupils is enormous. And it's been such a blessing for me to walk around the school now that the system has been implemented, to see the changes that are actually taking place. And of course, we've had hiccups. It's a massive school. I've had to upload over 1,000 users onto G Suite. I've had to educate parents, teachers, and pupils on just how to register. But we're finally at a point now where I can say that I believe 90% of the school have registered. They are actively using the Google Classroom and the Google Apps. And I think this is just the start, because the more in which our teachers get used to the platform, the more they're going to adapt their teaching style as well as their assessments to enhance, again, the education that's taking place in the classroom.
And it's so true. And as you say, you know, I'm for one I'm old school. You know, I matriculated in the era where we never had computers. And it's just amazing that, you know, often we say out of something bad comes a whole lot of good. And
Absolutely.
the pandemic has taught us a whole lot of good. And I, for one, have had to sort of become more accustomed to online, you know, these type of things, social media. You know, I'm fortunate. I had a daughter that adapted to online learning. She's at a private school in Durban North. She adapted to online learning straight away, which was great. So, you know, out of something like this, you know, something good always happens. Lauren, I know maybe this might be something, and you and I chatted about it a while ago, is to you know, maybe demonstrate a little bit more how the program works. You know, maybe that's something, you know, for another chat. But, you know, while we're chatting today, is just to tell us, you know, maybe a little bit more about the program and what it's about.
Sure. So when I met with Mr. Pinheiro, I made it very clear to him that every school is unique and every school has challenges that are different to one another. And before implementing any program, I had to be involved in the school. I needed to understand the culture, especially in a boys' school. There's a culture that doesn't exist in other schools that you find in boys' schools. And so I spent a lot of time getting to know the staff, getting to know how the school runs, and also knowing that this pandemic has resulted in a huge financial problem for parents, and therefore it has a direct influence on schools. So I wanted to make sure that the program being implemented didn't cost the school a cent. And so why I chose G Suite for Education is because, provided that we met the criteria, we could use it for free. I know that private schools opted for Microsoft and they couldn't use Google Classroom unless they paid for those services. But one of the biggest reasons why is because G Suite basically is a suite of apps that have been tailor-made to education. And one of the biggest apps that were used in the first initial lockdown was Google Classroom. So some of our teachers had certain skills with that already. But G Suite for Education has opened up a whole new world of apps that can be tailor-made for different subjects. So there's certain specialized subjects here at school within technology, and the apps that they need are completely different to the apps that an English teacher would need. And it's been so exciting learning all of this with the teachers and finding the right resources for them. One of the biggest challenges I wanted to overcome was the fact that we're sitting in an environment where not everyone has Wi-Fi, not every boy has a device. And we had to look at ways in which we could overcome that. So one of the best things about the Google Drive, which is our storage system, which is similar to a server, is all of the boys' work is downloaded from Google Classroom into the Drive, which has a setting that allows you to work offline, which means that at school, the boys can download it, or if they go to a coffee shop or anywhere near a Wi-Fi, they can download the work and they can work offline. And one of my biggest rewards was walking down a corridor about 4 weeks ago. It was a grade 8 class. And knowing that there was load shedding from 12 until 2, the teacher in question was prepared. And so had notified the boys via Google Classroom to please download the following documents. And they were sitting in the dark with no electricity, but every single boy in this class had an iPad, and they were working offline. And as soon as the electricity came back on, it automatically synced. And it's been massively successful, specifically with grade 8s and 9s, because of the fact that they have iPads. Our 10s and 11s, we use this more from when the boys are at home, because currently we have a rotating system because of the pandemic. So we're trying to create a system where, although the boys might not be at school, through Google Classroom, they are still able to participate in lessons, so that no one's left behind. So that's where G Suite for Education is absolutely incredible. And the apps, the teachers have been so excited to learn. We've done developments and we're learning every single day. So just to see the excitement and the change that has taken place in the classrooms. And I believe that by the time our entire school is using an iPad, we're going to be completely revolutionized. We're going to be a school that has adapted to change. We're going to be a school that has an extremely high standard of education, although we, in my opinion, we already do. But we're giving the boys an opportunity to be prepared for the real world. And technology is it. Regardless of what career path you choose, you need skills that you gain from playing around with technology. And it also gives the boys a sense of responsibility for their education. So they've been given opportunity to do their own research. They are taking ownership, problem solving. They have so much resources at their disposal at the moment. And I'm just so excited to see where it's going to take D.H.S, because I'm confident that as each year goes past and each grade has obviously got the iPad in the classroom, it's going to be utilized way more than it has ever been utilized in the past.
It sounds, really, really exciting. And I'm going to, you came up earlier on a point about boys having Wi-Fi or data or their own device. I'm going to come back to that when we finish off. And it just sounds that, again, the exciting things that are happening at D.H.S. And I'm talking more from the education academic side. It's amazing, and I'm not shy to say it, but in the short time that I've been in lockdown, I've learned a lot about the school that I didn't know, and I'm an old boy of the school, and especially to see the advancements that D.H.S. has made in the education side of it, because when you think of it, bottom line, that's why we go to school, and it's just really it's just really exciting to see. Why did you choose this program to be implemented at D.H.S? I'm sure you must have had a reason why you chose D.H.S as a school to implement this program.
Are you asking why the program, or why did I choose D.H.S?
Well, why did you choose D.H.S as a start to implement this program?
When I introduced myself, I said one of my biggest energy points is I'm passionate about education. And during lockdown, I obviously wanted to help as many schools as possible. And when I met with Mr. Pinheiro, I met with a man who has a heart for education. And for me, I connected with him immediately, because as a teacher, as an educator, if you don't have a heart for education, you're doing the kids no service. And in my first meeting with him, I saw that our visions were aligned, our hearts were aligned. And I'll be honest, I've never worked in a boys' house school before, and I was a little nervous about that. But I can honestly say, within 2 months, I have felt like I'm part of the family. I love coming to work every day. The management team at the school is absolutely incredible. I have never felt uncomfortable in the school. They've trusted me. Mr. Pinero has literally given me free reign and trusted my work based on the results that he has seen. And I've learned a lot about the history of a school, which obviously D.H.S has. I've never been part of a school with such a massive history. And I'm so excited to be part of the school's journey, because I just firmly believe that the school is going places. And I've always said that, you know, people often compare government schools to private schools. And in my personal opinion, yes, facilities might be different. School fees are obviously completely different. But what this school has to offer, not just D.H.S in terms of its CAPS curriculum, but all of the additional programs it has that I didn't even know about as an educator, that's what excites me. Because in my personal opinion, D.H.S can be a competitor to any private school, any government school. And I want to be part of that journey. And I don't even live in Durban, so I've never really been involved with D.H.S. But my first interview with Mr. Pinero and Mr. Golan had me sold. And to know that I'm trusted by the staff, I'm trusted by the management team and the heads, is what makes me do my job so well. And I'm so excited to be part of the school. And I haven't had that excitement for a very long time, despite being in other schools and absolutely loving it. This school has a culture. The school has a history. It has a passion. It has so much more to offer than I've ever experienced in my life. And that is why I'm so excited and privileged to be part of Mr. Pinero's team.
No, Lauren, you know, it's, you know, what I hear there, it's just so, you know, for me, it's so pleasing to hear, you know, what you've said. And I'm an old boy of the school. I'm the CEO of the foundation. I'm trying to attract old boys to send their, not only old boys to send their boys to the school, but to tell people that, you know, D.H.S, with all its history and tradition, is the school, you know, to go to now. And you know, you talk about the online platform that you've introduced. You know, you bring with that Cambridge, you bring with that non-parole, and then your normal mainstream education. You know, it just shows you what type of foresight that a headmaster like Tony does have. And I think I alluded to earlier on in the chat is, bottom line, the reason why we send our kids to school is for them to get a matric and to get educated. And if you have a look, you know, what you've explained and told us about today, it's just another sort of attraction that puts D.H.S above any other school in the province.
And I think the school, to be honest, is very lucky to have a head like Mr. Pinero, because he came into the school and he had a vision. Yeah. He had a different vision, sorry, which he's landed to achieve. And this vision of online learning was a massive one of his, but he had to obviously do it in the right time. And it just so happened that we were forced to do it when we did. And it's been, in my personal opinion, it's been a massive success. We've had boys that haven't come back to school. We've had boys who aren't part of Google Classroom lessons, but we were in a massive school. Yeah. And for me, from what I can see and what we've achieved, the school has done a brilliant job. And I'm extremely proud of the teachers, and I'm extremely proud of the excitement that has being seen by people who would never classify themselves. They always say, I'm not tech savvy, but they're so willing to learn. And even the staff here, the staff are absolutely incredible. They know that this is needed. There was no refusal from anyone. The decision was made from Mr. Pinero. Everyone is going on to G Suite, and there was no, well, to my opinion, my knowledge, there was no hesitation from any of the staff. And what has helped build the confidence is that I am here full time. So when teachers don't understand, or they have a mistake, or they made a mistake, or they don't know what's going on, they have the freedom to come and see me. And every time they do, they get more and more excited because they're learning skills themselves. So it's not just the children who are learning, it's the teachers who are learning. And it's just the start. That's the scary thing, is it's just the start. we are climbing upward, and we're constantly going to be developing the staff so that their skills are sharpened and they can better equip their students.
Yeah.
But I can confidently say that this school is a school for people to look out for. One of my biggest things that I've said to Mr. Panera is I want people to know, not just about D.H.S, I want them to know about everything that goes on in the school. And that's the marketing side of me coming out. And it's been a privilege to work with the marketing team as well. And I do believe that as our name gets out into the community near and far, I do believe that the school is in the process of change. Yeah. I confidently say that.
I think as much credit you give to Mr. Panera and the management team, I think it's very, very important that you've got to give yourself credit as well. And I think, programs like this, they don't happen by themselves. They happen by people that run them, that drive them, that are passionate about them. And that to me, in the short time that I've got to know you, shows a lot about your character and your enthusiasm, is that you're very passionate about what you do. And for a program to work like this, it needs the leadership of someone like yourself. So, from my side, I just think you also need to be complimented on the program that you've introduced. And if you say that the teachers and the boys are so passionate about it, I think you've got to give yourself credit, because without you there, without enthusiasm, a program like this will never work. So, compliments to you as well. Eh?
Thank you, Angie. I really, really appreciate that. It's been a team effort, an absolute team effort as well. There's a lot of stuff that people have had to assist me with. A massive shout out to Kaya, who's part of our IT or our internet staff, as well as Sharon Drew, who spends hours creating email addresses. We had to make over every single boy in the school, barring the matrics, had to have an email address. So that's a transition that we've taken, and so it's a team effort. And it's one thing I love about the school is we work as a team. So it's, as much as I appreciate the thanks, like there's a lot of thanks that has to be given, and I'm just my excitement is
I've seen I've been at D.H.S. I've seen the group pull together and as a team and believing in Mr. Panera's vision, and for me as an old boy who probably, I think you and I chatted, is probably, I'm so chuffed that at the end of the day my son finished off at D.H.S, but when he was in grade 7 I probably I didn't look at the school. But as an old boy, for me it was, I was so proud when I saw my son matriculate at D.H.S and see where the school had got to, and also knowing, getting back involved, is that I can play a small part. I mean, in getting the school back to where it was. And as you say, it is a team, but also teams need leaders. And as I said to you, you are important. You have become a very, very important member of that team. And as I said, I'd like to keep up your great work. Just going back to one thing that I wanted to ask you, and obviously always programs like this have challenges, and being a government school, we know that there probably are boys that have difficulty in access to Wi-Fi and access to data, let alone a device. And I'm sure this is something that if there are any old boys out there listening to this chat with you and I, is that if they're willing and want to lend support to these boys, please, contact me. But I'm sure those are the challenges the major challenge that you probably face. Yeah.
Absolutely. One of the things our teachers are mindful of is, especially I always separate the grade 8s and 9s and the 10s and the 11s because of the iPad. But the teachers are very mindful of the fact that not all boys have access to an iPad or a phone, and no boys left behind. No boys left behind. So if they don't have access to a device or data, we ensure that those boys get the workbooks. And that's what we've had to do during lockdown, because of the situation we face and because of the cycling that we've had to do, is every boy will get a hard copy. But for me, if there is any additional assistance that others could give, whether it be the donation of data or iPads, I hate to walk into a classroom knowing that there's one boy sitting in there, his family can't afford a device. And those are the boys who, based on my experience, learn to appreciate things a lot more. And I want them to be part of the skill. I want them to be part of this generation. And so any assistance that any of the D.H.S. old boys are willing to give I speak on behalf of the entire school and the entire staff, would be obviously highly appreciated. The school isn't in a position where financially we can just give iPads to the boys, especially now more than ever. But we're doing our best to make sure that every boy gets the same level of education, despite the fact that devices might not be able to be used in the classroom. And we'll see that probably more so next year when our new grade 8s come through. And as much as the iPad is part of the stationary requirements, it's also, I'm not aware of this because I've never been part of it, but I don't know if they've made it compulsory. But the reality is, especially having gone through what we've gone through this year, we're going to have more boys coming through to grade 8 without iPads. So that's a bit of a challenge, but no challenge cannot be overcome.
No,
I'm a problem solver.
And it's a real challenge. and you know, if there are any old boys out there that are listening to this, that are involved in a company that an IT company, whether it be, you know, obviously with data, whether it be for devices, or just an old boy that is just very interested and wants to give back to the school, and would like to see his donation go into an academic program, please, you know, contact me, you know, because there are good things happening out there, and you know, in order to give every boy an equal opportunity, I'm sure, you know, your support would be, you know, greatly benefited and go towards a really, really good cause. Lauren?
Absolutely, and I know the teachers would also appreciate it.
Yeah.
So on behalf of the D.H.S. teachers, we would like to thank any old boy who is willing to step forward.
Yeah, and Ed, you know, just my chats that I've had, you know, I've chatted to Carolyn Dickinson with Cambridge and non-parole. I spoke to Natalie Rungan about the music department last week. I've now spoken to you about the online learning platform that you've introduced to D.H.S. And I mean, that is just, you know, a whole lot of exciting things that are happening at the school that old boys and not necessarily only old boys, but parents who are looking, kids in grade 6 or 7 that are looking for high schools. It's important that you know, we are relaying these messages of what is happening at D.H.S. to them, and there's such exciting things happening. Lauren, I just want to say thank you so much for your time. You know, I really appreciate it, and you know, keep up the good work, and it's really exciting, and you know, hopefully we can catch up in the near future and get feedback on exactly where the program has got to, and yeah, just keep up your good work, and thanks for the chat.